Hey guys, this is David. Welcome back behind the velvet rope. We are joined by a guest today, everybody. We have a very special guest in the studio, the one and only newest cast member, well, one of the two newest cast members of RHONY, Miss Elyse Slaine.
Hi, David.
How are you?
I'm well. How are you today?
Thank you, first of all, for coming all the way downtown.
In the rain.
In the rain, you took an Uber.
I took an Uber, but I'm still having a bad hair day for it.
I think your hair looks great.
Really?
Yeah.
That's why I love you.
I feel I don't know, I feel exhausted today. So I feel like I look not so great today.
No, you look good.
I was waiting.
You always look good to me.
I do? Wow.
You do.
That's nice of you. I was waiting for you to be like, are we really doing this today? It's raining out.
Oh my God, you think I'm like one of these like Upper East Side women who melt in the rain?
Not melt, but I used to be a Chelsea girl who never left. Like if you wanted me to come see you, it would take me 7 months to come to the Upper East Side.
You would come to me.
Of course I would. Listen, I've come to you every time that we've hung out, per se.
This is true.
So that's the thing. Like we've become new BFFs.
We have.
Right? We have fun together. We just bonded.
I know.
We're going to get, okay, so that's it. Like, I mean, this is how we all know you. You know what I'm going to say. Do you know what I'm going to say?
I don't. I'm afraid. Go ahead, say it.
This is how the world thinks, and this is how the audience thinks. Like, technically, if you want to be technical, and you're going to be like, oh, great, that's nice of you to say about Leah. Technically, Leah is the new Bethenny, and you are the new Barbara Kay. See?
Oh, David, really?
That's what I said in our story, and you were not happy when I put that on it. But this is, I mean, just technically. Now, you are... And listen, I know Barbara. I know Barbara's like PR people. Nothing against Barbara. Like I love all of them. But technically, just technically. Now you're much different, of course. But that's how, just for the world as we meet you.
Right. Well, I don't know Barbara at all. So I actually...
You never met
I'm
her?
being playful. No.
Yeah, you are being playful.
So I can't take offense to it because I don't know her at all. And we all know that editing can change a person.
Oh, my God. You're telling me. No, Elyse is like guys, Elyse is the nicest person possible. So, but that is technically like your role. You're the new friend of. Now, before we get into all of that and how you are now here and like why you're on RHONY, let's think back. So how we met. Do you remember how we met? Because I do.
Think it was.
You don't have to.
We were filming at the bullying event, the anti-bullying event in which everybody bullied Tinsley.
Yes. So the anti-bullying event, which was a live podcast show, which like I was invited, I was a part of. So you walked in, and I have a funny story about, see, this is the thing, like not everyone remembers everything. You were there. I forgot. I think you came by yourself. I mean, you were filming, but I think you walked in by yourself.
Right. Yes.
And see, this just says something about me. Not that I shouldn't treat every human being with respect, but when you were sitting there, I think I said something like, just watch my bag or something. And then I didn't realize you were the new, one of the new cast members or new friends of until later. So I was like, oh my God.
You're like, and I just told this bitch to watch my bag.
That is 100% what I said to myself, and I think you even had like a funny response, like, "What? I'm not going to go in your bag" or something like that. You said something like that, but yes, that's exactly how I thought. I was like, God, I would have been. See, it really makes me a horrible person. You were the nice one. You were like, I'll watch your bag, and I was like, God, I would have been nicer if I knew she was actually on the show.
Oh, that does make you a little bit of an elitist.
Yeah. You see?
You got to be nice to everyone.
It's one of the New Year's resolutions. I'm really working on it.
How's that working out for you?
I think I'm gotten a little better, believe it or not.
Okay.
That and JOMO, Joy of Missing Out, which I think you're good at. You're good, just...
Yes. Like it's Fashion Week, and I was invited to shows. I have no interest. I do not have FOMO, although I wear a FOMO hat.
And who invited you to the shows? I invited you.
You invited me to some shows and
Elyse,
some other friends, yes.
And you're just like, no, I'll pass.
Yeah.
I get it. So that's where we met. That's how we met. Then we ran into each other again, I think the second time at another filming. Right? The Married to the Mob 15th anniversary, I think it was. Leah's party.
Leah's party.
Which, that was a fun party. all I know is that party went from nobody being there, and I had a first drink, and then there was like 8,000 people there.
Right. Well, Leah, as you guys will see this season, is gangsta. I adore Leah.
Love. I'm obsessed.
Yes.
I'm obsessed. And you know what the thing is, like, in speaking to each, I mean, I'm sure, listen, it's not like I've spoken to everyone on the cast extensively, but just, in running into certain people, everyone has great things to say about her. I have not heard, I mean, listen, we have a show and I don't know what's coming, but like to me, like I feel like that's the sentiment. But I love Leah. You went to dinner with her the other night, right?
Yes, I did.
Where'd you guys go? Anywhere good?
We hung out at her apartment for a while, and
That's
we were
nice.
just going to chill. We were both very casual, and then decided that we were really hungry and went to Nobu.
Oh.
And we sat in the corner, just the two of us, and just had great conversation and great food.
It's funny. I was just talking about Nobu yesterday. I need to be reintroduced. The last few times I was at Nobu, I wasn't overly blown away. But I was with someone yesterday who was like, you need to go back. I don't know. I wasn't so... I might have been there I don't know.
Well, I mean, you know what? The prices are extreme, but the food is delicious. And it's always people watching.
You know where we need to go when you're back down in this area? Momoya. There's one on the Upper West Side, but the one in Chelsea, it's like true. I'm not even just saying this. It's some of the best sushi in all of New York.
I will come back down to this area to go out with you.
Thank you. But you do know how much I love coming up to you now, too.
Yes, that's right.
Like tonight, I said we don't need to go to the Regency because I need a night off from the Regency.
You don't want to run into Harry Dubin at the Regency?
That's like a nightly occurrence for me these days. Like... People are going to start saying, like, this is where we are going to find David Yontef, because I literally am posting from there every night now.
I've noticed.
Have you noticed that?
I have noticed that.
So I need a break. But I'm telling you, it's the best popcorn in... Well, speaking of the Regency, so right, then we filmed, and then that's the third time that I saw you.
Right.
At the Regency. I was there. I don't know if Harry was there, but you were sitting at the bar with a friend.
Right.
And I noticed you, and I came over to you, and you remembered who I was... which is, I can't say about all of your cast members, even though I've met some of them. Hey,
all of my cast members don't always remember who I am.
Listen, people know I talk about the singer Stinger all the time on the show. Listen, this is an honest show here behind the velvet rope. Yeah. I just call it like it is, guys. But what was I going to say? So I came over to you and I asked you, I introduced, you remembered who I was. And I said, can I have a picture? And you said, do you remember what you said to me? Do you see how sick I am?
What did I say?
Okay, can I just tell you, and I talk about this all the time on the show, I drink so much vodka. I mean, I do. I like to drink. But I mean, my memory for so many things is horrible. When it comes to like Real Housewives, I could tell you everything. People are like, well, what did you do yesterday? I'm like, I don't even remember what I did yesterday. You said to me, you were very nice. Mm-hmm. You said to me, we can take another picture. We can take a picture. You said you've posted 2 pictures with me. One of them I really liked and one of them I really didn't like.
Oh, yeah. No, see? One would have been really bad for me if I was single and that were like on a dating site.
Really?
People would have like swiped left. Is that it? You swipe right or left?
You swipe left when you don't want.
Yeah. It was a bad picture.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
And I was still nice to you in spite of it.
Listen, you were so nice to me. And listen, you brought up the picture and then I said, well, let's do another picture. And then we had a whole photo shoot. And I'm so far behind on posting pictures. I post in order of the day. I've ate a card.
Right. No,
it's not posted.
The New Jersey Housewives over our picture. I don't think I didn't notice that.
You're in the queue.
Yeah.
First, Margaret, we're up to like Teresa and Margaret. You are in the queue coming. Okay. So then we met at the Regency, and then that's when we kind of bonded, and then we went out for drinks and dinner.
Right.
And I came to the Upper East Side, and we did not go to the Regency.
That's right.
So I do enjoy coming up and seeing you. So that's kind of how we met. This is who you are. Now, just let's go back a little bit. Like, tell us about yourself. Like, let's go all the way. But yesterday someone said to me, really, at the beginning? I mean, you could give the Cliff Notes version, like, where were you born?
Okay.
Tell us about yourself.
Right. Well, I was actually born in Brooklyn. I was a Brooklyn girl and then moved to Stony Brook, Long Island.
Oh, okay. I would have guessed New York-ish somewhere.
Yeah, New York is in my veins.
Me too.
And then...
So you grew up in Long Island.
I grew up in Long Island. I came back to the city for work. I worked as a financial journalist at Reuters.
Okay.
I was an expert in mortgage-backed securities reporting, which sort of launched a Wall Street career for me. So then I went into sales for mortgage-backed securities. I was in bond sales. And then I went into trading at Cantor Fitzgerald, and I traded mortgage-backed securities at Cantor. And when I left Cantor, I was just sort of trading my own account and being a full-time mom, which I loved, and did some writing on the side for hedge funds. Used to do a little ghost writing for doctors, and then I started trading cryptocurrencies several years ago, and that's what I do now.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So, like, listen, you're like me. Like, I'm an ex-corporate tax lawyer. We're like, you're like a closet smart person. I mean, not that I didn't think you were smart, but like, I couldn't do any of that you just said.
It's well, most days it's fun. I've had a couple of bad days, but most days I enjoy it.
So you were like financial services all the way, living in New York. When you moved to New York, did you move right to the Upper East Side?
No. I lived with a bunch of friends on 77th and Lex, and then I moved to 99th and Columbus, and
all over.
Then I was
you were a single girl
in Washington Square West. Got married the first time and lived on West 68th.
That's what I was.
My ex-husband and I had a little mattress on the floor in his studio apartment. Probably the happiest we ever were.
I get it. Simpler times.
Yeah.
Simpler times. Yeah. Well, they say mo money, mo problems. That's what they say. So you married your first husband, mattress on the floor, and that is when you had your daughter, this first husband.
Yes.
I really, she's looking at me like, I really don't know these answers.
My daughter,
we're like new BFFs.
My daughter is adorable. She's 25, very smart, grew up in the city. Went to Chapin and then on to Columbia University and works at a hedge fund now, and she's the kind of kid that laughs tears.
I saw pictures of her you showed me. As we were talking before we started this, I truly think I have someone to fix her up with. If she's single, I'm not kidding you.
Well, she set me up with my current husband, so that would be me paying back a debt.
And listen, this guy, he's on Bravo. We don't need to get into what show he's on. He's age appropriate, like 31, 32, right? He seems to somehow do well for himself, and he's really cute. And listen, he's actually really nice. We're going to talk off air. Because I'm secretly in love with him. But
you sure we can't bring him to the other side?
Well, he's also a new BFF, and I wasn't quite sure, and he's definitely straight. I mean, not that I tried anything, but I asked him. And
okay, you put it out there.
I put it out there. Okay. He's straight. But I'm telling you, he could be good for your daughter, like for real. Okay, so that was, you mentioned she fixed you up with your current husband. So you had one first husband, and then you had a divorce. And this is your second husband.
Yes, and I've been married for a year and a half.
And she fixed you up, and tell us how that came about. You told me, and I think it's a very funny story.
So she was a freshman in college, and she did not love the guys that I was dating. I had a little rotation that I was doing. And she came home from school one day and realized she hadn't thought it all the way through, but she said to me, "You should go to the juice bar next to Serafina with the dog, my little white Maltese, and have a smoothie."
Because you always bring the Maltese.
I always bring the Maltese. And I said, "Why should I go have a smoothie?" I said, "Do you want a smoothie?"
Yeah.
And she said, "No, you should go and have a smoothie." And she's sort of thinking about this, realizing, okay, now she needs to break the news to me. And I said, "What's up, Nicole?" And she said, "Well, promise you won't be mad." And I said, "Well, I'm already getting mad, so what's going on?"
Yeah, that's a strange way to start, right?
And she said, "There is a gorgeous guy waiting to meet you." And I said, "And how do you know this gorgeous guy?" And she said, "Well, that's where we go back to the promise you won't be mad." And I'm like, "Nicole, spill it."
Seriously.
And she said, "Mom, I don't love the guys that you're dating. So I put you on Match.com.
Oh, my God.
And I'm like, "You what?" Now, I had some high-profile issues going on that when the paper, the last thing I needed was a profile to end up on page 6.
So she,
right?
literally put your picture.
She literally put up a profile, and I said, oh my God, I said, and some pedophile is communicating with my daughter? And she said, no, he thinks I'm you.
Oh my God.
And I said, do you know identity theft is a felony?
I mean, it is true. That's
Of course.
identity theft. Identity theft.
And I said, well, I'm not going to meet him. And
so she literally took pictures of you and was corresponding with multiple people.
No, she only corresponded with him.
Really?
He was, yes.
Everyone else didn't make her cut.
No one made her cut. And
wow.
And she said to me, well, the good news is you had hundreds of responses. And I'm just glaring at her. And I said, well, I'm not going to meet him. So you could send him a text and cancel. And she said, well, I don't have his phone number. I'm not that stupid that I would like give him the phone number and try to pretend to be you on the phone.
Right.
And she said, Mom, he's innocent. Just go tell him what I did and tell him your daughter's a jerk and that's that. And then, you don't have to deal with it anymore. And I said, I'm not going.
Yeah.
And she said, well, then I'll go and I'll tell him what I did. And I said, you are not leaving this apartment until you're 40.
Right, because, I mean, that's...
So she's like, Mom, he's innocent.
Yeah,
Just go tell him. Don't leave him standing there. And I said,
you're, like, pissed
fine.
at this point. You're
I'm
like,
totally
this is a waste.
pissed, but I'm like, fine. So I walk out the door, and she comes running after me with the dog. And she's like, he's expecting the dog. And so I thought, oh, okay, so you didn't put up pictures of me. And she's like, oh, I put up tons of pictures.
Oh, my God.
And I'm like...
And she probably put up pictures of the dog, and they probably talked about the dog.
No, they didn't talk about the dog, but I was like, I will so deal with you when I get home.
Seriously.
So I went, and there I'm sitting on the bench outside of this juice bar, and this very handsome guy with this heavy German accent comes over to me and offers to buy my dog a smoothie. And I laugh, and I said, I have to apologize to you. I said, I'm actually not looking to meet anyone. And he said, what? And I said, you weren't communicating with me on Match. And I'm so sorry. You were communicating with my daughter.
Oh, my God.
And he turns white, and he says, how old is your daughter? I said, she's a freshman in college, and I promise there's going to be serious ramifications for this.
Yeah.
And he said, well, I have 3 that age. So I suggest we sit down on this bench and not leave until we think of an appropriate punishment for your very badly behaved daughter.
That's some game.
And
That's some game.
I was like, okay, have a seat. And we started talking, and we spent the rest of the afternoon together. We went to dinner.
Really?
Yeah. And
so, like, from not wanting to go, you had like a 7-hour date or some huge marathon date.
Yep.
Really?
And then, I was still dating my rotation, but I couldn't wait to get home and text with him or talk with him. And then my daughter had to cancel Mother's Day. We were spending the whole day together, but she had finals and a paper due.
Okay.
So she had to cancel and said, I'll come home for dinner, but I'm so sorry I can't spend the day. And he had texted me and wished me a happy Mother's Day. And I said, well, not so happy. Nicole ended up blowing me off. And he said, well, can I take you to brunch for Mother's Day? So we went to brunch, and then we walked around the park, and there were beautiful flowers, and we shared earbuds and listened to music, and that was that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So, like, your daughter really knew kind of who to weed out.
And he was the antithesis of anyone I'd ever gone out with.
And she was just like, this is the guy, I have a feeling.
Yep. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. He's very cerebral. He's an introvert. Most of the guys I've been with were extroverts and would really sort of command a room. And his background, he's a theoretical physicist, and he's an expert in string theory.
Oh, my God. You're both like these closet smart people, aren't you? Or like just
he's not so in the closet.
Right. Or like outwardly smart people. I tell people, I'm like, listen, just because I want to talk about housewives and 2 housewives all day does not mean...
Why do you love the Housewives so much?
A lot of people haven't really asked that. I mean, listen, I have a lot of diverse tastes. I love real estate. I said this, real estate is like a passion. I'm not really a foodie. I love food, but like I don't need to go and like make a 17-hour thing over a meal. So like real estate, fashion. Well, I think, okay, first of all, I think gay men and women, that's like a match made in heaven to start with. Were around the same ages. I think, like, to me, like, 30s, 40s, 50s, it's all the same, I feel. I feel, like if you've done well or had like a nice career and like have done well for yourself. Like it's just like I think we live like similar lives.
Right.
Does that make any sense?
But there's a lot of women who live the same life and they're not on Housewives.
That's
Would
true.
you want to be friends with them?
Yeah, and I am friends with a lot of them.
Okay. All right.
It's just that
because some of the Housewives could be pretty bitchy, actually, right?
Oh my God. That's an understatement. Well, that's what people don't realize is like there's an evolution to like becoming friends with the Housewives. It's like, well, there's a curve. It's like that whole thing, don't meet your heroes. Yes, a lot of the Housewives could be bitchy. So you want to meet them and be friends with them. But I can honestly say, having been in this world for long enough, there is another side. There are people now that I'm not interested in being friends with. There's at least 2 people, I don't even think, 3 Housewives I'm not even necessarily interested in speaking to.
Okay.
So, you know what I mean? So it's still like at the end of the day, we're still all human.
Right.
And it's not like you're just going to be friends with everyone. I mean, you kind of meet people and then
you should only be friends with the Housewives that would watch your bag.
Yeah. No, it's true. And you know what? That is not a lot.
Yeah.
That is not a lot. I mean, listen, yeah. I could talk about this all day. I think that's not most. Mm-hmm. You know, I think that's like, there's a lot of reasons why. I think this is a system that's this is just my opinion.
Right.
That like Bravo, Andy, whoever it is, created this regime where you have no job security at all times. So if you work, this is just my opinion, like maybe I should write a book on this, like the psychology behind Housewives. Like, so if you worked at like, you know, Credit Suisse or Reuters or wherever you worked and you basically, I mean, no one has job security, but if you really went in every day feeling like you didn't have job security, which I truly think is most Housewives.
Right. That's true.
With a few exceptions. So you kind of you have to have your own back at all times, and you're like, it's almost like you're jockeying for your own position at all times.
Right.
And it's not very exciting or fun. You know what I mean? So it's almost like you're worried about yourself. Like, it's like,
well, it's an environment that is conducive to women being mean.
Yeah.
Right?
Like, and it's a whole bigger issue of like reality TV, you know, like I've just used this example the other day, like Tamra Judge, you know, from like the Real Housewives of OC. Like, she was on the show. I mean, it was reported she was making $900,000, which I believe after the amount of years. And now she is let go. You know, her story's over. So now it's like, well, what now? No, I'm not saying $900,000 is not a lot of money, but did you save any of that? You know what I mean? So it's like, where do you go after this? So if you really boil it down, in a way, it's like you're on this and you're not necessarily going to say no, but then it's like maybe ruins lives is too dramatic.
No, it's not dramatic. I mean, if you look at a lot of the stories of the girls on the show.
Right.
You know, divorces and arrests and...
Right, like if you look at Teresa, like, I don't know, would all of this have happened if you weren't in the public eye? Probably not.
Right.
So that's where it gets to be like, whether it's 1 year or 10 years, it's over. And then, I mean, where do you go? I mean, Tamra Judge can't walk and get a job somewhere. I mean, apparently she just applied for her real estate license. But you know what I mean? So, like, if you really think of the evolution of this, it's like a moment in your life, and then, like, at what cost?
Well, that's why Bethenny was very smart.
So smart.
Yeah.
So smart.
And I hope that Leah does the same thing with it. You compare Leah to Bethenny. And I hope Leah is able to capitalize off it, because she's got the brain, she's got the look, she's just raw.
And this should be good for Married to the Mob, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, or, you know, whatever else she wants to do with her career. Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, I always said if I was on Housewives, just for instance, I would hold on for dear. I mean, I would literally be like, I could be fired like literally within an hour, and I'm going to not whatever the money is, and the money is not anything in the first year or second year, etc. But like, I would just not live at what, you know, if I was then making however many dollars, I would not live at that means, or I would not change my life, and it's the side hustle.
Well, I always tell people And I've told my daughter for years and friends that you should always live below your means.
I 100% agree. I was saying this the other day too. Like, that's the key. Yes.
Right.
Like, if you make 900 and you used to make 100, okay, like, live at like 400. Like, live.
Not even.
No?
Not even, no.
You have the financial background.
I have the financial background, yep. And I think you don't need another bag. I'm not materialistic.
You don't?
No, you don't. I am the least materialistic out of all the girls on the show.
Why did you choose a bag, Elyse? Because you do know I have bag issues, right?
I know you have bag issues.
And watch issues.
Yes.
So a bag issue is nothing compared to...
So to me, you're filling...
I'm filling a void. Yeah,
yes.
no,
Yes, and that's what shopping is, right? It's like a drug, and... You're going for the next high. And I think that when you get to a place in your life...
I don't disagree.
Right? When you figure out what's missing in your life... When I was unhappily married, I had become materialistic. And as soon as I was out of the marriage, I couldn't care less. Now you're going to want to throw up. I have a closet filled with Birkins that I have never used.
Yeah,
now,
that's...
Yes. I had an ex-boyfriend that was super into Birkins and the whole prestige and the look, and it was never my look, but he kept buying them. I should just sell them or something.
Well, I was going to say, like, I mean, listen, I don't want anything out of this. I can come over, help you categorize these in, I'm getting nothing out of it. I just think you should organize it, pictures, and they should be sold, and you should get the money from it.
I know.
I agree with all that, but like in a way, like listen, I'm very happy in life. I know what you think. Elyse wants to find me a boyfriend. I know we've talked about. Listen, I'm up for the challenge. Go ahead. By all means. I'm not stopping you. Keep your eyes open.
You know, I've gotten 4 couples married, by the way.
Really?
Yes, I'm very good at setting people up.
Oh.
Yes.
And I know you don't think I should date the young ones anymore. We already talked about this. I would agree per se with that.
Right.
Listen, you keep your eyes open.
I am.
I'm okay with like a nice Upper East Side boy.
Okay.
That's successful. But yes, but I would still like certain things. Like I would still like my bags.
I know.
But I agree. I agree that.
But you know what? I'm actually not judging. If that's what makes you happy,
health
then
is all that
happy.
matters, though.
Right.
It is.
Yes, of course.
I mean, I truly believe that because like this is why like I'm happy every day, more or less. Because like as long as you wake up and you have your health that day, like you've won the day. I truly believe this. See, I have a whole different side.
You do.
I do,
and it's okay to be, to be materialistic. And look, I mean, I'm
buying
what's
Gucci's, not Birkins. Like there is somewhat of a difference.
Okay, I'll give you that.
You see,
but a lot of what people are drawn to on the Housewives is the sensational and the designer things and the fashion shows and the lifestyle that people at home sit back and say, oh, I wish I could do that. But the truth is, once you're doing it, you're like, well, this is kind of boring. I'd love to cuddle up with someone I love at home and, watch.
Yes. And let's face it, I'm not thinking of New York, just in general, the whole thing, not all the women have as much money as it appears to the outside world.
They
like to your point of like living above, like I actually don't live at my means. Like I like live below my means.
Right.
Believe it or not.
There are appearances that
yes.
I guess perception is reality, right?
Yes. Now, okay, so moving along, I think we should address, and not in a bad way, but I told you we were going to address this. Like,
okay,
listen,
all right.
You're on it. Listen, if you Google my name, a whole bunch of shit comes up.
Yeah, I'm the Google search from hell.
So before I even knew you, like this is way back, someone was like, oh, did you Google this? Like after it was announced. And I actually never did.
Uh-huh. I
only know this really because you told me it the other night over drinks. So I think we should address when you Google your name, the 2 things that come up. And I'm giving you, since you're my friend, I want you to like your story made a lot of sense to me. So would you like to talk about the nanny or the apartment first?
Oh my gosh. Well, we could talk about the apartment.
Okay.
I was buying my current apartment with an ex-boyfriend, and we broke up a few days before the closing. He and I were going to split the apartment, split the cost, the renovation, and we broke up a few days before the closing. And the co-op board did not have time to take his name off the contract, and it was time of the essence, and we had to close on the apartment or lose the deposit. So I had decided that I would buy the apartment.
That makes sense.
Yeah. I said, I'll buy it myself. That's fine. We had to keep his name on it because there wasn't enough time to take it off. So I said, look, we'll close with your name on it. I'll pay for it 100%. You'll have the shares and nominee status for me. And all that means is that they're not really his shares, that he's holding my shares.
Right.
And so I had power of attorney. I call back the shares whenever I want. I indemnify him against any lawsuits from construction. It was not his asset. He had absolutely no financial stake in the apartment whatsoever. And he and I were friends, so this seemed fine. And then I was doing construction. I was going to wait till I moved in to call back the shares. And unfortunately, he passed away in an accident. And then his children refused to sign over the shares. And I showed them the documentation that showed that I paid for the apartment, that their dad had no right to the apartment financially. They had no right to it. And it even says if I ever had to litigate, they would have to pay my legal fees. And they just refused to sign over the shares. And I reached out to them every month for about a year. And then after a year, I filed the lawsuit. And within 2 days of filing the lawsuit, they signed over the shares. They did pay my legal fees. And what do the papers write? The papers write that I sued his family, claiming he wanted to gift me his shares of the apartment, which was all bullshit because I paid for them. They were never his shares.
And that is what the papers, the New York Post, I'm reading here, like late hedge fund honchos, ex-gal pal, battering kids. So like they, of course, want the sensational story.
Right. And it was right there in the lawsuit, all the proof that I paid for the apartment myself and that he had no legal right to the apartment. All the documentation was attached to the lawsuit. So the reporter had access to that information, but chose to write, a lie. And it made me look like some gold digger or something. But happy to say it's resolved.
And of course, it is the New York Post.
Right. Well, so they never why let the truth interfere with a good storyline?
Yes. So that makes sense. That's how you explain. That totally. So that's good. So that's all.
And the same reporter is the reporter who wrote the story on the Nannygate lawsuit.
Yes. Which is the other.
Which is, I had someone that worked with me for 14 years. And we had a falling out and parted ways, and she wanted to come back to work, and I would not let her. She worked on average of 2 to 4 hours a day. She actually asked me to. She would keep saying she's going to retire. Would I keep her till she retires? And I would say fine. And I had someone else that actually did the housework.
Like when you told me the other day over drinks, like she had a pretty cushy job.
She had a very cushy life. There was a time I had water damage in my apartment and I lived in the Four Seasons for almost 4 months. And she also lived in the Four Seasons in her own room. And
oh my God.
Claimed that she worked like 18 hours a day. She kept upping it, 12 hours.
So if I come and help you with the Birkins and you ever live in the, could I live in the Four Seasons?
For overtime.
Seriously.
But so she hooked up with some very left organizations and got pro bono legal representation and came after me with they organized protests in front of my apartment, like 100 people
when protested. You told me that is like, so you're living on Park Avenue.
Yep. And the people who now I'm the daughter of a Holocaust survivor, and she knew that. She was actually close with my dad. When she would take a vacation, she would go stay with my dad in Florida. And the people that protested in front of my apartment, many of them were from anti-Semitic or what they like to call anti-Israel organizations. So they had Answer Coalition, CARE, Ma, Salawad, people of that ilk.
Wow.
And it was brutal. And in the Second Circuit, judges can pick their cases, which I found out the hard way.
Right.
And the judge on the case, a woman, was married to a woman who co-heads the Human Rights Department at NYU with a former attorney from the group that was suing me. And the judge's spouse also did a lot of business with the group that was suing me. They're called the Urban Justice Center.
Okay.
And they go into the guise of community activists. But I would encourage people to really peel away the layers of the onion and research more about this group.
Yeah.
And let's see, what else can I tell you about this?
No, I mean, all I know is like I'm just picturing these. I would be like.
So in my counterclaim, and I would encourage everybody to read my counterclaim as opposed to what you read in the paper and then all these blogs.
Like a headline in a post.
Right. My counterclaim states that she had a scheme in which she stole over $50,000 from me. And we presented that to the judge, and the judge, oh, by the way, the judge's spouse also wrote a handbook with the groups that were protesting in front of my apartment. Her handbook was about how migrant domestic workers can humiliate sue their employers, start with public protests and public humiliation. So there was a real conflict of interest, and we had asked the judge to recuse herself, and the sole arbiter of whether or not the judge is conflicted is the judge. So she claimed, even though her spouse wrote a handbook with the protesters and partnered with this urban justice center, she claimed that she was not conflicted. And she would
sounds like a pretty big...
my counterclaims, even though I had some real evidence in there. Then we resubmitted it, and then she would just not rule on it. She sat on it for like 8 months. And it was a horrible experience, but all my counterclaims show that this housekeeper is not who the reporter in the paper tried to pretend she is. And it was one of the worst times of my life, I have to say. And so
were the protesters like every day?
It was showing up every day.
Oh my God.
They were handing out flyers about me with my name, my address, my phone number. They marched up Park Avenue. They had a full marching band. I mean, it was insane.
That's a marching band?
A marching band.
Oh my God.
2 other women who had worked with this housekeeper both wrote affidavits in my defense, saying that this housekeeper was a liar and that she didn't work more than a few hours a day, and how nicely I treated her and treated other people who had worked for me in the past. But nothing mattered. The judge didn't want to hear this, and
that's crazy.
Yeah, it was terrible. But unfortunately, when people Google me, that's what they see, and so they have this preconceived notion.
Well, hopefully, I mean, first of all, it's in the past, so that's good.
Yeah.
And, as America gets to know you on The Real Housewives of New York, listen, once you are on a few episodes, trust me, people are going to be talking about 100 other things.
I'm sure.
It's going to be all, well, I mean, even when you Google you now, it's all about like, are you in a cast edition? And, like when you first started filming, they're like, who is that? And so listen, this is the power of Bravo and the Housewives. Like that is going to take over everything, honestly. And same thing with Leah. This is just
Leah and I talk about
like, do you guys know what, I mean, I guess that's a good question. Like, do you know what you're in for?
Leah and I, Leah is in for more of it than I am because she's holding an apple.
Yes.
And Leah and I talk almost every day. So, yeah, she's definitely a little nervous as to what it's going to bring. And she's, Leah is very raw, right? What you see is what you get, and which is what makes her so incredibly lovable.
And I have to say, that's the other thing.
She will be the fan favorite.
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, not as opposed to you. I just think...
No, even as opposed to me, because I'm, a little more deliberate, and Leah just lets it all hang out, and she's fabulous.
People are going to love her.
They're going to
love her. She's going to... So that's the thing, like, listen, I have online haters, I have online lovers. Like, I'm not even worried about that. Like, she'll ignore it, but, like, she'll be, like, not able to... I mean, eventually, like, everyone's going to want a picture wherever you go. Right. Is she ready for all that?
I don't know if she's ready for it. We'll see. But you know what? She's a tough girl.
And listen, Barbara Kay goes around and people, I mean, like people are going to be like, that's Elyse. I want a space. Remember how was I the first person that ever asked you for a picture from the Real Housewives genre?
Yeah, you were the first
I think
person.
So.
Yeah.
Because I asked you at that first. See?
That's right.
Listen, You gotta get your pictures.
You de-virginized me.
I did, and I de-virginized you with Instagram.
That's right.
We did a story. Oh, and speaking of which,
yes,
I have been checking your stories. I have not seen. It's okay. Listen, listen. A lot of people ask me for help with Instagram. Listen, it's a full-time freaking job.
I know.
So we did a love. We'll like do a story today, but
we did a love fest.
People loved it.
Oh, good.
People loved it. But then I've been looking at your stories, and I'm like, okay, she's not keeping up with her stories. I don't blame you. Doing a story is absolutely exhausting. It's exhausting. So okay, so then I just want to talk about like, so how were so you're living your life, you're married, your daughter, Park Avenue. So how were you cast in the Housewives? Like that's really the $1 million question. How did this come about?
So I have, I was cast by accident, actually. I wasn't looking to do it. I was very close with Ramona and showed up to meet her for a drink when she was filming the first episode with 2 of our friends. And I was just sort of sitting with the producers, having a drink, watching what the producers were watching on screen. And I made a couple of snarky comments. And the producers were like, all right, we're going to get you mic'd. Get in there. And that's the first scene. I believe it's going to be the first scene of the first show.
Really?
Yeah.
So it was like you weren't like, okay.
No, I wasn't.
We're looking for this replacement for Barbara. We interviewed 7,000 people. You just literally were there and you said something, and they're like,
just there. Yep.
Wow.
Yep. And then literally the next day they were like, yeah, we really liked Elyse. Ramona, why don't you bring her back? And so Ramona brought me back, and then the third time I was on a friend's boat in the Hamptons, and Ramona's texting me saying, "What? Come back and film with us. We really want you to come back and film." I said, "I'm on a boat."
You were in the Hamptons.
I was in the Hamptons on a boat. We weren't docked. We were sort of tooling around.
And like for anyone not in New York who doesn't realize, like the Hamptons, yes, it's everyone from New York goes there. It's not close, you guys, during summer traffic. It could take like 3.
Well, no, but they were filming at Ramona's house in the Hamptons.
Okay,
Ramona lives a stone's throw away from me in the Hamptons.
Okay.
And so I said, I can't get off the boat, and she said, oh, just take your Tinder and get off and I said, I can't do that, but I'll come by when we dock. I'll come over.
So the producers were saying to her, get Elyse, get her here for the scene.
I guess so. Either
that's
Ramona
what it
was
sounds
saying it
like.
or the producers were saying it, but she was texting me, the producers love you. So I went over there and we filmed again that night and then the next day, and then it just sort of kept happening.
Wow.
And they kept inviting me, and I kept showing up, and then they sent me a contract, and we were taking it from there. But
and now you're.
But I have a lot of history with the Housewives. I don't know. I think I told you.
You did tell me. Now tell me.
Tell
all of us.
I introduced Jill Zarin to Bethenny.
Really?
Yes.
So you knew, way back.
Way back, I knew Jill before there was a Housewives. I knew Bethenny. When Bethenny...
Because Bethenny lived on the Upper East Side too, right? Okay.
And when Bethenny was filming for Martha Stewart Apprentice, she
remember.
actually films in my kitchen wearing my little pink sweater.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
I went way back with Bethenny when Bethenny was...
So Bethenny, I don't even remember that. So they filmed like a kitchen scene? Like you had to be your own kitchen?
Yeah, she filmed a kitchen scene.
And her apartment was smaller and not...
Yeah, she just used my kitchen.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting. So you knew Bethenny. Where'd you meet Bethenny?
I met Bethenny out at a club one night or at a restaurant. I was with my first husband and my first husband's brother who thought Bethenny was adorable. And Bethenny was sitting in the banquette next to us. So I just started talking to her and brought her over. And she went on a date with my ex-brother-in-law, but she and I actually bonded and have become friends.
And this was like when you were 20-something, she was 20-something, like early 30s, like that.
Yeah, early 30s,
wow.
I'd say, yeah.
So that's how you met her, and you already knew Jill at this time?
And I met Jill when Jill just started coming to New York and getting on the scene in New York.
Really?
And that's how I met Jill. And then one night I invited Bethenny out to dinner with Jill and Bobby and my husband. And
so Jill was married at this point.
Jill was married to Bobby, yep.
And so you introduced Bethenny and Jill.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
So this epic friendship that has been, it's like we've seen it. There's another example of reality TV. Like, who knows if they would still be friends if they weren't on a show. Right. They might be. I don't know. Right. But so you introduced these two.
I introduced them, yeah.
So technically, you were part of the Real Housewives franchise right from the beginning.
From day one.
Because that is like an epic friendship that has seen,
right.
highs and lows, and now is at a different point. Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Now, do you keep in touch with Jill or Bethenny now?
So Bethenny and I
mean, she's very busy.
We had a falling out, and we lost touch, and then a couple years ago saw one another because I was with Ramona at some of the filming, and started talking again like nothing had ever happened. I have a great deal of respect for Bethenny, I have to say. And through it all, even though we had our falling out, she's a smart, scrappy, tough girl, woman now.
She's done well for herself.
She's done well, and I have a lot of respect for her.
And this new guy seems great. I mean, I don't know him, but...
I've never met him. And Jill and I also had a falling out. We mixed, which you will see.
Ooh.
We had a falling out years ago,
okay.
But it gets brought up this season.
Interesting.
Luann brings it up. And
interesting.
So, but Jill and I had already gotten past it. We didn't talk for many, many years.
Wow.
We had this falling out. And then when Bobby got sick, I reached out to her.
That makes sense.
And we, a few weeks after Bobby died, we were in Morocco together with a bunch of friends, mutual friends. And Jill and I were...
You went together to Morocco? No, you just ran into it?
We went together with a group of like 40 women.
Oh, wow. So you guys are good now, per se.
We're good now. Yeah, we're good now. And although this thing sort of got dug up again on the show, we've worked it all out, I believe.
That's good.
Yeah, but I also wish Jill a lot of, look, she went through hell losing Bobby.
Yeah, and she seems happy with her new man who I met.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know him
I know
that
Gary,
well.
too.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
And I knew Gary's dad for like
interesting
15, 20 years.
I met him at BravoCon.
Yeah, so it's a small world. It's one of those things.
And then did you know, what about like Alex McCord?
I did not know Alex.
She traveled to different circles, that one. What about, I mean, she also lived in Brooklyn. What about Aviva?
So Aviva and I have a very close friend in common.
Okay.
So I sat with Aviva at my friend's son's bar mitzvah. But I'm not friends with Aviva.
And you know who I think you knew is Heather.
Heather and I go way back.
See?
So I knew...
Yummy Tummy.
Yeah, way before she started Yummy Tummy. I knew Jonathan, Heather's husband.
Okay. I've never met him.
He's adorable. And he was
Heather,
very good friends with my ex-husband. And his father was a head of the Reformed movement. He was a rabbi.
Okay.
And so... I've known Jonathan for 30 years, and he was at my first wedding.
You're a perfect fit for the show. I mean, really.
And it was interesting because Heather and Jonathan had gotten together when my first marriage was breaking up. So we had double dated, and so I've been to dinner with Heather a bunch of times. But then my marriage was falling apart, and so obviously I lost touch with Heather and Jonathan. And I hadn't seen them in years until we film in the Berkshires this season, and Heather and Jonathan show up for dinner.
Okay, so we have Jill, we have Heather sightings. This might possibly, we have you and Leah. This might possibly be the best season of RHONY in a very long time. And then who else? Oh, Jules. Do you know Jules?
I don't know Jules.
Okay. I'm trying to think who else are past.
Luann, I've known around.
But you never really knew. So
years.
The current. Oh, and what about Kristen Tateman?
No,
she's all the way in the financial district. What was I going to say? So other than Ramona, did you know anyone on the current cast before, like Dorinda,
I knew
Sonja?
Dorinda. Yeah, I knew Dorinda when Richard was alive.
Okay.
Dorinda was very close with the boyfriend that I had the issue with his estate. So I'd been to Dorinda's house for parties, and I sort of knew Sonja tangentially also over the years.
Are you just like, these questions are so silly? Trust me, people want to know this stuff. See how I'm so nice because because we're friends. So I'm just like, if you don't like these questions, tell me.
No, I'm fine. I'm not sure what I'm supposed to or not supposed to
No,
say
that's
as far as revealing who's going to be on the show. But
and there's some things that I know that happen that I'm not going to say either,
Right.
Well, I mean, so like technically the world is going to meet you as like, like Luann brought Barbara Kay on, quote unquote. Right. And like you are Ramona's
I'm Ramona's friend. You
friend.
will see me Elyse Slaine, friend of Ramona.
The singer stinger. I'm calling her it, not you. It's fine. That is what I call her. What was I going to ask you? Have you met anyone else from other franchises, just from like being in this world, even though like you're not on you're filming,
right?
Like, have you met any Jersey Girls, Beverly Hills?
No, I mean I'd met when Kelsey Grammer was married to
Camille. Oh.
I met her at a friend's party
because they used to live at Central Park, whatever that
but
is.
I met them in the Hamptons.
Interesting.
And the other girls, I mean, I think I've met Lisa once, Lisa Renner, but we're not friends. And and she wouldn't recognize me.
I just didn't know if you knew all these others.
No.
And what was I going to say? So from the past, you're closest now to who? Like Heather? Or are you just kind of, you're not really like the past girls?
I wouldn't say I'm close with Heather at all. In fact, I was very nervous seeing Heather and Jonathan because it was a blast from my past from my ex-husband.
Right.
So I was visibly shaken up by it. But they were as sweet as can be.
That's good.
So they definitely put me at ease.
That's good. Now, because just on a lighter note, because you fix 4 couples up, and because you're gonna fix me up, and I'm really ready for this to happen right now. Let's just pick a random. Like, if you were gonna say, what do you think like a Sonja needs? Like, if you were gonna fix up Sonja or Ramona.
Oh wow!
I know.
Well, what Sonja and Ramona need are not what they go for.
They go for young sometimes.
Yeah, they tend to go for
I mean,
young.
It's not like I'm revealing anything. It's shown on national TV. I mean, I've seen it firsthand, but this is what's shown.
Right.
It's kind of the same thing you said for me. You don't think I should be dating the young boys anymore.
Right.
That makes logical sense.
Because there's really no good place for it to go. Right.
That's
I
true.
understand, you want to make every day count and have fun every day, but you also want to plan for a future. You
know what the problem is? I mean, okay, I agree with that. Here's the problem. Lisa's like, listen, there's no right. Like the younger ones, yes, it's frustrating when they're not at the same point you're at in life. But there's a certain like happiness and innocence. It's not even like fun. I mean, it is fun, but it's like it's a sweetness and they're more endearing. And then the people that are a little bit older that have, they're at your same place in life, like I don't need to hear about like how wounded you are.
Well, I don't know.
You see?
I mean, well, but I don't know. So someone very young who's dating someone older, I don't know if there's necessarily an innocence. There's either a barter going on, right, where they're looking to be taken care of financially.
Sure.
So that's not so innocent.
That's not so innocent. I mean, both sides of it get something out of the equation.
Right.
But it's not so innocent on either side, yes.
Or they have mommy or daddy issues, and that's not so, easy to deal with either.
No.
So I'm
yes,
I'm not buying your excuse.
You're not.
No.
You want me with someone relatively age appropriate.
Age appropriate, yeah.
And successful. Like in whatever they do, even though I'm not supposed to want any more Gucci bags in life. I'm
not saying that you're not supposed to want any more Gucci bags. You may have Gucci bags.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
But just, whatever.
No.
But you should.
Listen,
you should be
I love
able
to stay home.
If you retired tomorrow, you should be able to still maintain your lifestyle as far as your apartment.
I would agree with all that.
Healthcare costs, things like that.
I would agree with all of that. I agree with that.
Yeah.
That's true. What else did I want to ask you? I'm trying to think what else. Anything else you would like to talk about? I feel like it's going to be a great season, I feel.
I think it's going to be an interesting season. I wish I could tell you more, but I don't think I'm supposed to.
Don't.
So I can't reveal what all the
because I know some things
turmoil is about and stuff.
Like I know some things, like you're friends with this one in real life, you're not friends with this one anymore. But this is why you're, I just think, like embrace it. I do think I really feel like the first day after it airs, you will be doing something and someone is going to say like, oh, hi, I want a picture with you. You were just on The Real House. I'm telling you, this is going to happen.
Well, it's already happened when people gather around when we're filming. And then as soon as the microphone comes off, there's already people standing around asking to take a picture.
And that makes sense. And I'm remembering things. Tell me your story. Tell all the listeners. Remember you told me you were where was it? South of France?
I was in St. Lucia.
See, I was close. South of France, St. Lucia.
Yep. And on a boat, and some people on the boat who I guess are Bravo fans and read all of the websites and blogs came over and asked me if I was Elyse Slaine, the new person on Housewives.
See, they didn't say the new Barbara Kay, did they?
No, only you are saying that.
I like saying that. I'm sorry. I won't say it anymore. I have to just say it for this.
Although, didn't Barbara make out with someone? Yeah, she made out with Bethenny on the show, right?
Really?
Yeah, they kissed. They were playing Truth or Dare.
Oh.
Yeah.
See, do you see how I can't remember that, but in real life I can remember everything you said to me when we met? All I know is I asked you to watch my bag, and you were like,
I will always watch your bag.
Thank you. Listen, I agree. You're giving me good advice. I shouldn't just be friends with every housewife.
I am so good. See, I miss my calling.
You're like a real person. Like I really enjoy you. Like it's not just
Thank you.
It's not just like, listen, this is how I feel. It's true. Like we met because you were on the show, but that doesn't mean we would have a lasting friendship. We're going to have a lasting friendship because we actually get along.
Yes.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like, and I really, truly mean that.
Thank you. And listen, I feel the same way.
And there's for instance, there's 2 New Jersey girls I'm friends with, and they know the difference. They're like, okay, this is your job.
Right.
But we're actually your friends. I mean, people don't always understand it.
And I'm the kind of friend that shows up, if you call in the middle of the night and there's an emergency, I don't ask you to justify the emergency.
Oh my God, I love it.
Up.
I'm very low maintenance when it comes to that.
Yeah,
but that's good to know because one day maybe I'll need someone for something.
I'm telling you, I'm the friend that every friend I have will say that. I'm the friend can count on.
See, I have my issues. Yeah. My issue is counting on someone. That's I'll admit it.
So
I don't like to ask anyone for anything. I'm like, I'll figure it out. I mean, that's not such a bad thing. But I mean, we all need someone. It's like survivor skills.
Yeah. And I'm
that's good to know,
I'm a shoulder to cry on. I'm logical. I never am a Pollyanna, so I'll never say to you, oh, it's going to be okay. I will give you the steps to make it okay, and I will be by your side when you take those steps.
I like it. Just if you do nothing for me, have fun with me, have drinks with me, and you don't have to do it all at once, but just, you'll keep your eyes open for, I told you this, I go through spurts where I make an effort and then I make no effort.
No, I'm going to keep my eyes open. And
here's the difference. Listen, I think you're very self-aware. When you say Leah's going to explode more than me and she's going to be the fan. That to me is a turn on. Self-awareness is a turn on. I think people that sit around and cry I'm single, what's wrong with me? That is such a turn off. I could say I'm part of the problem. I make no effort half the time. It's not what's wrong with me? Why am I single? It's no, I got to get my shit together because I have my head in the clouds and I make no effort. It's literally handed to me. I've had 2 different guests on this podcast, I'll tell you off the air, that have basically asked me on dates. And I'm like, yeah, and not followed up. One of them is huge in the world, yeah.
So I wonder what's stopping you.
So at the end of the day, I'm not just a star fucker because I could have gone on dates with someone pretty big, bigger than Housewives technically, as far as
right. Okay. Well, something's stopping you. What's stopping you?
I just didn't like that particular guy.
Okay. All right. Well, that's what's stopping you.
I liked him I love him as a person, but
But you weren't drawn to him for whatever reason.
For whatever reason.
Yeah. So I am really good at, I'm telling you, I'm not only good at setting people up, I'm very good at helping people navigate relationships. From
Interesting.
Even when my daughter was 16 years old, all of her friends came to me for their dating advice.
You told me. Didn't you tell me about some friend of hers?
Yep. Her gay friends, her straight friends. I'm a ghost texter for a lot of the friends. My friends I ghost text for.
What's the story you told me? You'll tell it quickly about the 2 gay guys that you were ghost texting for?
That one of her friends I was ghost texting for. He was crazy about a guy. And then finally one of her other friends sent me a text and said, okay, I'm in over my head. I need your help. How do I respond to this? And sent me a screenshot. And the screenshot was of the text that I had the other one send. So I had no idea that these 2 guys were hanging out together.
That's really funny.
Yeah.
I like that you'll ghost text for me.
Yes, I will ghost text. I'm telling, but you have to. When I give you advice, you have to listen. You cannot. There's no unauthorized texting.
Really?
Yes. There's a whole plan, right? And it's not being someone you're not.
No.
It's you taking the reins.
And is it okay in the beginning? Because I go back and forth. So, like, I think I told you this story. I mean, it doesn't matter. It's in the past. Like, I went on a date with this guy in, like, December. Did I tell you this? I met him through, like, a Housewives thing.
Yes.
And, like, we got really drunk on the date. Listen, I'm not drunk every night, believe it or not. Like, I truly don't drink every night. Just let's start with that. And when I drink, I don't always get drunk. But, like, we got really drunk. It takes 2 to tango. And then, like, the next day I was like, fuck, why did I get... Are you really opposed to...
I am really opposed to it. I think
figured,
all these... and it's not that I'm some prude, but there's something about wanting... is always better than having initially.
I agree.
So all these apps where people are like doing Tinder and all these hookup apps, and a lot of the kids tell me that first they sleep together and then they decide if they want to go on a date. And I'm thinking, are you insane? I mean, the guys made this up. And then they split the date. And I'm like, wait a minute.
Oh.
You sleep with the guy, you guys go out to, maybe you'll go out to dinner, and if you do, he doesn't even take you on a proper date, you split it.
No, girls shouldn't
to a degree.
Girls shouldn't be. Yeah.
But I still, I think basically the guy should take the girl out on a date. If you're in a relationship and you're both pretty much making the same amount of money, and at some point, you both contribute to it. But
I just like when someone's aggressive with me in the sense of like I am an aggressive, like I have just a salesy PR, that's my personality.
Right.
So I'll make it all happen for everyone. I like when someone, listen, it's not ego. Like I'll take the lead because I always do. I like when someone else is like, not even paying, just like, are you free this day? We're doing this, we're doing that, and we're doing this. I'm like, great.
I get it.
Like, I don't care what we do.
And there's something about leaving the person where they always want more of you, right? If I could give great dating advice
sometimes,
but it's really important, right? Someone should leave a date with you and realize that they have revealed so much about themselves and they just don't know enough about you, and that makes them want to come back for more.
That's what you told me over drinks at East Pole. That I agree with, but that is great advice. I like that.
Yeah.
You should have the person talk about themselves.
Absolutely.
Because if someone talks about themselves, they feel like just psychologically, you don't necessarily realize the other person didn't say anything. I feel. And then you're like, I had a great time, because like, who doesn't like talking about themselves?
Right. So not only did they have a great time, but the more they start to think about it, then they start to feel a little bit vulnerable. Oh my God, I like shared so much about myself and I don't know enough about this other
I told you
person.
After I got totally drunk with this guy, I don't get pissed at other people. I get pissed at myself. I was so mad the next day. I'm like, not that we went home together, but that you were in my freaking apartment. Yes, I felt totally vulnerable. Like, you see how, and mind you, it was the cleaning lady's, like, she was, you know how it is like the day before the cleaning lady comes? It's always I'm like, now I feel totally vulnerable. Like, you see exactly where I live, how I live. It's a nice place, but like,
I get it.
I never can see this person again now. And we never did. But that's awesome. All right, so and that was okay. One more quick story, and then we'll go.
Yes.
It's lighthearted. Quickly tell us about your past. You're happily married,
right?
But tell the audience about your past with Tony Danza. It's not a bad thing.
It's
you don't
not
have to
a real past.
It's just like a funny story.
It's a funny story. So with my first marriage, And my first husband, I definitely felt like I was the consolation prize, and I was always making the effort, and he was not making as much of an effort. So we went to Canyon Ranch together, and they take you in Canyon Ranch, they take you to see your own personal advisor, and they talk to you about your goals. And my husband and I both were in great shape. We both worked out a lot. We were athletes, which is something we shared in common. And I went in to see my counselor, and this person wanted to register me for all these different classes. And I said, no, first, before I commit to anything, I need to see what my husband wants to do so we can do classes together. And sure enough, my husband comes out of his meeting, and I want to sit down and look at the classes with him. And he signed up for a bike ride for every single day that we were there, leaving at like 7 in the morning and returning at 6 at night.
Too much.
And I'm like, are you kidding me? So there I am working out by myself at Canyon Ranch in the gym there. And Tony sees me, and he comes over and starts talking to me, and he starts working out with me. And then afterwards he said, what are you doing next? I said, I have a boxing class. And he said, I'll go to the boxing class with you. So he came to the boxing class with me, and he became my partner in the boxing class, and he taught me how to jump rope doing double unders. And we spent several days doing classes together and working out together and having lunch together. And I was just so pissed at my husband. I wasn't even talking to him, so there was no need to mention him to Tony.
Right.
And finally, my husband got the hint that he was going to be in really big trouble. And he finally cut the bike tour short and showed up in the cafeteria while I was eating with Tony. And he sat down, and I introduced him, David, this is Tony. And then Tony basically said to David, look, I've been spending time with her for a few days. I'm sure you're a nice guy, but like, this is my turn.
Like, I already put some work into this.
Yeah, I already put some effort into this. And
my God.
And David said, you mean with my wife? And Tony said, your wife? And that's where I turned multiple colors and shades of red. And I was like, well, you never asked.
You could have been Mrs. Tony Danza. I know you're happily married now.
Years later, many, many years later, before I met my current husband, very dear friends of mine who are very dear friends of Tony's decided to set us up on a date.
Really?
So they had, and we didn't realize it, so they had invited me to dinner, and they said a friend of theirs is going to be at dinner with them. And I showed up to this dinner, and it was Tony. And,
oh, my God.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, my God, I know you.
Yeah. And so then now
That's funny.
Another dear friend of mine is actually friends with him. So we saw each other about a month ago on the west side
funny.
and hung out and had drinks. He is one of the nicest people. Feels a real social obligation to do good in the world and to just make the world a better place. And so while the story is very playful and I really don't know him well at all of my interactions
funny, like,
with him are, great
he
guy.
seems like, I mean, I've met him like once or twice, but I mean, nothing like that.
What you see is what you get.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. All right, well, we need to go have a drink.
Yes, we do.
You can eat if you want. I'll have a bite to eat. You need to come back on, like, as the season airs, because then we could talk about more stuff.
Then we could talk about more stuff.
We're friends, so, like, it's easy. You'll come downtown.
Then I could give you all the real dish.
Yeah. See, I didn't pressure you. Everyone's always afraid to sit down, and you were very diligent. You asked me for an outline ahead of time. You are now, I think you've started a trend because you're the first person to ask me for an outline. But since there's someone else that I would like to sit down with that has asked me for a huge outline as well. So you're all making me work.
Oh, well, but aren't we worth it?
Listen, Elyse, you are so worth it. So I hope you had a good time.
I had a great time.
Okay, I hope you had a good time. And just remember this, Elyse, because I don't know if you know this about me, because you look at my Instagram and you see me out all the time. I am actually tired. Like, you don't realize this. Like, I actually would like to stay home one night. I would like to take a bath. I would like to read a book. I would like to watch my Bravo shows. But you know what? I put on my big girl pants and I force myself out the door. You know why?
Why?
Because I, David Yontef, can best serve all of these wonderful listeners behind the velvet rope. Oh, and before we go, where can we find you on social media?
Where can you find me on
Instagram.
Instagram.
At Elyse Slaine.
At Elyse Slaine.
Which I think that's the main place to find you.
Yeah. I have, I've never Twittered or tweeted or whatever it's called.
I don't do that either.
Yeah.
And me, it's at David Yontef. And are you on Cameo? I have to get you on Cameo.
No,
you should do it.
People have asked me about it.
I'll get you on it. I have a hookup. I'm on it. I have a low rate. I'll explain it off air. You'll like it, and it's like free money for not doing so much, and you can send messages to people.
Who doesn't love that?
Right. It's like, listen, you're not going to make, your $900,000 that Tamara just left behind, but it's literally fun, and it's people will be happy that you're on Cameo.
Okay.
Cool. All right. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Anytime. I love you dearly.
Love you too.
Bye.
Bye.